Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Seth Udinsky, Sam Case with you, and your host, Mark Manila.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you back, Seth.
Mark, it's good to be back.
We missed you yesterday.
I missed you guys yesterday.
I was going to say, who's this joker?
I know. What's going on here? What's going on? I missed you guys yesterday. Thank you so much for the well wishes, everyone. It was a great anniversary. Had a great time with the bride and with the kids. But I missed you guys, though. I heard it was a delightful day. I heard the markets didn't behave too well, but
they figured you were gone. They could misbehave.
I know. Isn't that how it always happens, Mark? Yeah. Boy, it's great to be here with you all today. Great to be back. Phone number 610-363-1110. Hope you'll join our live conversation today. We got a lot to discuss here. We'll talk about lost financial habits, the habits you wish your parents had taught you. Mark, I'm interested to hear your insight on that one. Of course, a lot of calls and questions. Frank Gaffney is going to join us later in the show today as well to talk about the Iran war and the peace treaty and all that stuff. But first and foremost, Mark, why don't we remind our listeners of our verse of the week this week, shall we?
Yeah, 1 Thessalonians 5:21-22. Test all things, hold fast what is good, abstain from every form of evil. Clear, concise, right at the bottom line of everything. You know why? Yesterday I challenged anybody to call in and tell us how this applies to BRI, and we'd send them an autographed book, but nobody called in, so I'm going to carry that over today and see if any of our partners or our listeners or watchers would like to have a book, and also just give a short application of how that goes with investment stewardship.
Mark, if I give an answer, can I get a book? I'm just kidding. I already have one.
You got a box of books in there, don't you?
Box of autographed books.
He could always have one more.
Man. I could just snatch one of those. You know, Mark, when I read this verse, one of the things that come to mind for me is wisdom. And it's interesting because I'm seeing in the chat yesterday, of course, I had missed this, but you guys had this question in there. George from North Carolina, he was saying, I was very fortunate. I had a grandfather who was born in 1892, so he was in his mid to late 30s during the Great Depression. He lived until I was about 24 years old, so I learned a lot from him. And Mark, I assume that this is talking about financial habits and financial wisdom.
Yeah, I would assume so too. And actually, I just loved some of the comments that came up yesterday about this because, yeah, things have changed over the years. But one of the things that I think, and it's just not us old guys talking about this, but we're hearing it from younger people saying, I wish my parents had spent more time helping me understand finances, or I wish somebody would have taught me. Or even Sam and I were discussing how they used to have things in high school where they would teach you about basics of finance. And from what I'm understanding now, most schools don't even do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know of anyone who has a home ec class anymore.
Absolutely.
Especially one in finance, huh?
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. So, you know, I believe that there has been some great habits lost over the years.
Yeah. What are some of these, Mark?
Oh, well, you know, I think the biggest one, and here's something really interesting. Thinking about this, these habits are foundations of financial stewardship. And these habits have gone away over time, just like so many other things. Biblical principles have been lost or ground down or sidelined. But the financial habits, things like living below your means, have you know, it's just not me. I mean, there's so many articles. It seems like about every other week I get an article come into my email about how debt's growing and how people are trying to live the life that their parents have, you know, at age 19 after, you know, what their parents have done after 30, 40 years.
Is this just a younger generational thing, or have we almost collectively lost these ideas, maybe because we can just swipe it and forget it, so we're not as conscious of our money, or what is it? Is it just generation?
Yeah, you know, I'm not actually sure. I think a lot of people have fallen into this. Older generations, I can say this because I am older generation, not because I did so good with this, because but others seemed, and I would say actually it would be like my parents and maybe anybody over 50 seems to have the idea that they should live within their means, that they shouldn't be borrowing or getting crazy and going beyond. So I'm thinking it's the last 2 or 3 generations actually have lost this concept that you live within your means. And I would like to take this back to a biblical principle. You know, if God is truly God, the creator of all things, including the physics of money, and he loves you so much he'd send his son to die, and he claims in his word that, we shouldn't have to worry a lot because God will give us what we need. Is it ignoring God? Is it looking at something else to say, well, I need this lifestyle, not this one, and assuming God just doesn't understand how important what we want is over what he wants for us? Does that make sense?
It does,
no, definitely.
Mark. It does. And it seems like perhaps that could maybe be a habit that's been lost as well. Mark, why do you think these habits have been lost? Is it just because, is it the result of a generation that failed to teach the younger generations, or is it the result of a younger generation that failed to listen?
Well, let me throw in a couple of more habits first that I believe.
Yeah, please.
Avoiding unnecessary debt. Every day we read more and more about debt, credit card debt, and all that kind of stuff. It seems like it's something that I remember. I remember hearing people talk about. They had a credit card, but they never use it unless it's an absolute emergency. Now it's like everyday stuff on the credit card. What about saving before spending? How many people in your generation, Seth, how many in yours, Sam, set money aside to buy a car or set money aside to go on vacation and save up for it instead of just putting it on the card and then hoping to pay it off with my tax return or pay it down slowly at 29% interest?
Well, I know I don't do that, but that's not a big sample size.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'll tell you one that I've really found: repairing, reusing, and waiting. Think about it. I think they say the average car now, people are replacing cars every 3 years or 3-point-something years. Wow. That was a statistic I read recently.
I was taught you drive that thing into the ground.
That's exactly. Right. I used to love getting under the hood and stuff. But, even now, I don't repair things myself like cars because I can't. You need $12,000 worth of diagnostic equipment to plug into the car because of all the computers and stuff. So repairing, reusing, and waiting. I do have cars repaired. I like taking cars as long as they'll go. I hope I never have to buy another car again. And I think the biggest lost habit is contentment, Seth.
Yeah.
And all these come back to biblical concepts of being frugal, of being prudent, of making the most of what God has entrusted to you, and then counting it all joy. So these all come back to him. And I think part of the reason these habits, and there's so many more, but part of the reason these habits are disappearing is because of the way our society is. With all the media out there pushing on you, you deserve it, you deserve a break, you deserve it all today, don't wait, go for it, reach for the stars. Everything
Social media is encouraging you to compare your lifestyle to someone else.
Exactly. All this is going on. Yeah. Then we have technology. When you used to sit down and balance your checkbook because you didn't have access to your checking account 24/7 online, you had a more intimate relationship with where your spending went. Now people just have things on auto buy, auto pay, swipe the card. They don't even know where their money's going because they don't have to balance their checkbook because they could just look online. Oh, I got $1,350 in my checkbook. I can do this, that kind of thing. So I think it's technology and how we're imposed upon and inundated in secular ways and enemy ways, and doing it in a way that it sounds like it's encouragement and trying to help you be happy, but really it's to distract you from your relationship with God and trusting in God. So we've lost these habits. And one of those habits might even be talking about money in the home.
Yeah,
I read where husbands and wives have different checkbooks for each of their checks go in their own checkbooks, and one pays the house, one pays the electric, and they divide it up, but neither one know where the other's money's going, and so they don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Things like
Mark,
that.
it's pretty wild that couples will agree to share the same last name, but they won't agree to share their checkbook.
They don't even
crazy.
do that anymore.
Crazy. Yeah, well, that is true. That's also a problem. We could get down that rabbit trail, though, perhaps another time.
Yeah. I think these are not only great habits for managing money, but they're great habits for honoring God for what He has entrusted to you. And that's what stewardship's all about. And that's what we're all about, helping you understand stewardship and applying it to your life so you can know Christ more intimately.
Everyone keeps talking.
You never have to lose access to financial issues. Stations change programming, shows come and go, but your connection to financial issues doesn't have to. With the website and app, Financial Issues is available whenever and wherever you need it. You can watch the show live, listen on the go, or catch up on episodes you've missed with on-demand access to previous broadcasts. You'll also get the complete Financial Issues experience, including exclusive bonus content like Friday's Overtime segment. And it gets even better than that because the website offers even more ways to stay informed and engaged. Be part of the conversation by joining the live chat during the show, read articles and market insights, and explore educational videos to help you become a better steward of God's resources. So what are you waiting for? Download the Financial Issues app or visit financialissues.org today. Stay connected, stay informed, stay with Financial Issues anytime, anywhere.
My wife and I help lead a Crossroads Kids Club, and one of the girls, she said, Mr. Dave, you keep talking about like you didn't really believe in Jesus and you were like dead or something, and then like you believed in Jesus and then you're like alive, and I want to receive that. And so we like just prayed there in our group to receive Jesus and owning this idea of life with Jesus for the first time.
Help reach kids with the hope of the gospel. Visit reachOurSchools.com.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. On top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn.
Then they sat me down. If you were to die today, do you think you would go to heaven? And I was like, no. Keeping the child was my first stepping stone, and ever since then, God has cleaned me up from the inside out.
Help support women in need. Go to preborn.com/FISM.
Today, folks, 610-363-1110. Mark and Sam, I'd like to pivot our conversation for just a moment here. Let's pick up that conversation about financial habits later in the show because we have a special guest on with us right now. President Trump, actually to start this off here, yesterday, or it was early this morning, Sam, has officially signed the peace deal, at least on paper, ending the war in Iran. So joining us to talk about this is Frank Gaffney, my dear friend of our show. He's the president of the Institute for the American Future. He's also the host of Securing America. Frank's an American patriot. He's a former civil servant. He was on the staff of President Ronald Reagan as his Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Policy. Frank, it's always a joy to have you on the program, brother. Welcome back.
Well, it's a joy for me as well, Seth. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Let's get right to it, brother. Give us your opinion on this peace treaty in Iran. How confident are you in this, that this is going to hold? What do you make of this?
Well, just to be clear, it's not a treaty. It's not even an agreement. It's a memorandum of understanding. Whether it is going to require Senate advice and consent, as if it were a treaty, remains to be seen. I personally think it should be subjected to it because I frankly don't think that it will pass muster. I'm a supporter of the president and deeply appreciative of what he did to try to address the threat that we face from the regime in Tehran. Unfortunately, if this is the final adjudication of that problem, that threat will only metastasize enormously because we've seen this current regime, and it is still really the old regime, just as they say, old wine in new bottles. These guys are as determined as ever, I believe, to bring death to America. And what in the great, well, not so great, the tradition of Muhammad, they have done here is nothing more than a hudna, as it's known in Arabic, which is a pause. It's not the end of hostilities. It's certainly not terminating the endless war, which has been going on not just since 1979, but going back, I would argue, 1,400 years.
Yeah, 1,400 years, right.
Therefore, we have got, I'm afraid, to be concerned that releasing funds, ending sanctions, allowing further imports of, among other things, weapons, is only going to give rise to, as in the Mohammedan tradition, a greater threat in the future.
Frank, I'm so glad that you brought that up to us, because that was a fear of mine as well. Like you've said, in the 1,400 years of Islamic terrorism, this is par for the course. They've done this many times. They've had pauses, and then they've come back, trying to come back even stronger. So my question for you next, brother, then is what is the Trump administration's next move? What do they need to do to be ready for this imminent threat that is probably going to come?
I think undo what they've just done, for starters, honestly. Instead, they're going to be making a redoubled effort over the next 60 days at least to negotiate with these guys. There is explicit in the agreement that it may extend beyond that. Count on it. But more to the point, in the interval, we will have eliminated the blockade against Iran. We will have made a commitment never again to attack Iran. We've made commitments that bind our allies, notably Israel, at the same time with respect to what it must continue to do, I believe, in Lebanon. And I think all of this comes down to almost certainly the position of the United States, the position specifically of this president, to be suppressing our friends' efforts to defend themselves and greatly enabling the danger posed by our enemies. This is not a formula for, I believe, either a geostrategic outcome that is in our interest, or, unfortunately, even an upside for the president during the upcoming elections, which has clearly been operating in their calculations as to whether to make this deal.
Hey, Frank, do you think that everything Trump has done in the past seemed to go, I don't always agree with how he does it, but it seems like he's done a lot of great things. This is one area where I'm very confused. It doesn't even seem like a great thing. This seems so different. Do you see it that way as well?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. He's done some great things. And I think one of them, honestly, was reckoning that he must do what his predecessors failed to do, which is to tackle straight on the problem that we were facing from a regime that, no matter how many times they disavow it, including in this Memorandum of Understanding, is determined to have nuclear capabilities, nuclear weapons capabilities, to be precise. And again, it's not just that they want a bomb, as it's called. It's that they want to bring death to America and death to Israel. And I'm not just asserting that. That's what they have said daily since 1979. And it has been made clear under the previous Ayatollah that that's not just a mantra, that's policy. So we are witnessing, I'm afraid, a not great thing, that they are being left in place to incredibly repress the people of Iran, who are our natural allies, and to continue to threaten ours. That will be, I'm afraid, a legacy that will be a real blight on this president's record. And I want to avoid that if at all possible.
Yeah. Folks, we're talking to Frank Gaffney here. Once again, Frank, wonderful American patriot, president of the Institute for the American Future. Mark, that was a great question you asked, and I actually have a follow-up for you there, Frank. For our audience in particular, very keen to how this will impact our country financially. There's been talk of somewhere around a $300 billion reconstruction fund for Iran as part of this deal. Frank, what you've enlightened us to in this interview, it doesn't make me too comfortable with the possibility of my tax dollars going to try to rebuild a nation that is truly our sworn enemy. But what do you make of this? Am I understanding that correctly to be a little bit concerned about that?
Well, this is all a muddle, to be honest with you. I can't figure out whether it's your tax dollars and mine that are going to be involved in this or not. The president says not. Where's the money going to come from? But think about it this way. Set aside for the question its provenance. Whatever funds are going to go into Iran, and that would include, by the way, freeing up the frozen assets of the Iranian regime by estimates, including, I think, in the deal itself, of maybe $100 billion. Whatever money that these guys can get their hands on, they are not going to spend rebuilding their country or taking care of their people. I mean, maybe a little bit, but overwhelmingly, what they are set on doing is rebuilding their military capabilities to threaten us. And I fear not just threaten, but actually attack us. And Israel, of course, and probably other, friends and interests we have in the region. Maybe Europe as well. Who knows? I mean, the thing that we have not actually come to grips with, it is totally absent from the conversation about Iran and its war aims and so on, is the regime's character. I did a commentary this morning, and I think you've been kind enough to help promote these commentaries, Seth. This one is about a webinar we did yesterday, focused on one of the horrific characteristics of Sharia, which is what it does to mistreat children. Well, this is a regime that is very much imbued with that idea of Sharia in all of its forms, including horrific mistreatment of children and women and, for that matter, men, especially those that are not aligned with them. But here's the ultimate goal of the regime in Iran, and they make no mistake about it. They seek to bring about the apocalypse, because they believe that will precipitate the return of the so-called 12th Imam, their Messiah figure, and that will usher in the golden age of Islam. And they believe that they must do it on their watch. So this is not some abstract thing. This is their policy. And I don't, for the life of me, see why we should be doing anything that could conduce to them being able to execute that apocalyptic vision. So whether it's our money or somebody else's, whether it's, nominally going to go into, rebuilding the infrastructure and serving the people of Iran, it isn't going to happen. What might well happen, and I've got a lot of friends, and I suspect some of them, or maybe even are influenced by them as am I, who say this is end times. This is where, we wind up with, revelations being fulfilled. I don't know. I'd just as soon not do anything that might conduce to it. Ultimately, it's God's will, but I just assume we not play a role in accelerating that program, if at all possible. And I fear that may well be the case because we're not cognizant. The president is talking rather blithely, I must say, about how this is a different group of people, that they're more rational, that we can do business with them, and so on. I don't believe that for a minute, gentlemen. And I think that anybody who does, should be in the market for a bridge.
Yeah. Frank, we so appreciate you having the eyes and ears on all of this stuff, brother, and we're so thankful.
Amen.
I know you have served our country so faithfully for so many years, and I know Mark has, as well in the biblically responsible space. I'm rather a young guy, so I'm trying to keep up with you guys here, but I just want to tell both of you brothers how thankful I am, and for you to know that we're standing with you in the fight here. We're not going to let our country go away so easily. Hey, Frank, can you tell our listeners in the time that we have left here where they can learn more about your work and how they can follow you?
Sure, and thank you for those kind words, Seth. The Institute for the American Future, which I run, is a multi-part operation, but you can find all of its work at usfuture.org. And also, I would specifically commend to you one very high priority project we have, which is a campaign to save Texas and save America from Sharia. And you can find out all about that at bansharia.com.
bansharia.com. Frank, you're a blessing to us, brother. Thank you for joining us once again. Again, folks, Frank Gaffney, president of the Institute for the American Future. So grateful for him. Appreciate that so much. Folks, if you have to leave us, we hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you for your desire to invest with biblical integrity. For the rest of you, though, we got more financial issues coming on the other side of this break. We'll continue the conversation for the first segment, and we'll take your calls as well. Be right back.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
And we're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
I want to make a point. No matter what happens, I'll always be there for you.
I know.
Navigating Funds Prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
$610-363-1110. Folks, we so appreciate you joining us today. We had a great comment there, Mark, in talking in our first conversation back in the first segment, about financial habits. Patty from Indiana was saying, as a retired person, I can honestly say I wasn't any better in my youth than the youth of today. Give them some grace. They have a tougher road to walk than I did in the 70s and 80s. What do you make of that, Mark?
Well, I think she's right. Grace is always the center, the foundation, the core, the It is everything. Of course, we should give him grace. And yes, as a young man, I was pretty stupid with my money at times.
To be a youth is to be ignorant, right?
there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should be. But, and here's why I'm saying but, we should be handing down that wisdom to them. Make sure they have it. What I'm seeing is 1,000 to 1 bad habits are being handed down instead of the good habits, because our voice has been, during the Biden years, or Biden years,
that
the
actually
Biden
counts,
years.
Mark. It was basically the same administration. Let's be honest.
Years. It was suppressed. It was suppressed. The Christian voice was suppressed on media all across the board. That was Obama. That was Biden. That was many, many years. And now it is slowly coming back. So I think because of that, we really need to work harder at getting this wisdom back to our children and our children's children.
Amen.
Amen.
Mark, I do have a question to follow up, because it's really easy to look at the kids and say the kids aren't all right. But are there any habits?
Get off my lawn.
Right, exactly. But are there any habits you are seeing among younger generations that perhaps are good that didn't exist in previous generations? For example,
absolutely.
I know younger people are more likely to invest earlier, things like that.
That is exactly the first thing that came to my mind. We're seeing investing starting at a much younger age, including in the teens, which is excellent.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When people are starting their jobs. Now, a lot of jobs have 401ks in them and have retirement plans, even for part-time people that they can participate in. Some of them, the 30 hours or less. It used to be 40 hours or more, some of them have some ways to do it, along with the plans like the new Trump Kids plans and the Trump independent for independent workers. There's a lot of people investing more and more earlier. And I believe this is just a natural, for the same reasons all these bad habits have started, because the media is there throwing this at them. So those generations are more informed than my parents and your parents' generation were on investing and its ability to change lives. What they're not informed is the stewardship of investing and what that means, and whose money it really is, and how we're supposed to manage it. And that's in alignment with God's will, obviously.
Mark, it's interesting because I've seen a couple chat comments, both today and previously on our show too, that seem to come from older people who, to their credit, want to come to the defense of younger people and say, younger people, they, just like what Patty was saying, give them grace. Yeah. I just want to give an encouragement to these older folks. One way that you can come to the defense of younger people is actually helping them out. Helping them out. If you're someone who has a higher net worth and you can help out a child or a grandchild, what's stopping you from doing it? Other than if maybe it's not a wise thing to do, but if it's wise to do, if they're struggling to try to start a family, they're trying to do that, offer them a helping hand.
Yeah,
that just seems like a simple thing to do, Mark. I might be overly simplifying it, but
part of the whole mentoring process is you get involved in people's lives. So get involved in your children's lives. If they're trying to buy a house, if they're trying to do something, talk about the biblical concepts of stewardship, how to do that, what is the wise way to do it, and help them even get involved financially with them. I'm not saying to control them. I'm saying when you're involved with them, then you can mentor them. They'll seek your wisdom, or at least try to listen to some of the thoughts you have in it, instead of just, letting them run on their own. It's kind of like the gospel. I once had a conversation with a gentleman, and he said, he and she said, husband and wife, that they would not impose their faith on their children. They wanted their children to grow up and research and find the faith on their own. So effectively what they did was they turned over the mentorship of faith to the secular world, to their children. And the same thing can happen with financial wisdom as well. Instead of you mentoring in godly biblical concepts of finance that could guide them and bring them peace beyond anything this world can, if you don't get with your children or your grandchildren and talk about these concepts, then the secular world will impose upon them other concepts that will destroy their peace and possibly their financial life.
Well said, Mark. Hey, we're getting a call from Nate. Nate's calling from Iowa, Mark. He wants to chime in on this conversation. Why don't we go to Nate?
Welcome to Financial Issues. Nate, what's on your mind?
Good morning. I just wanted to add something that I thought was kind of interesting. We had taken a financial class, my wife and I, quite a few years back. And what they had told us that with the credit cards, people were tending to spend 80% more with the credit cards. But now with the mobile pay, like phones and stuff, they said you spend 80% more than with the credit cards.
Yeah,
because
it's
so
crazy, isn't it?
Convenient.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, you go in on your phone and you use one of those, one of the payment apps, and you go in and you buy something, and they automatically sign you up for renewal for it to keep paying. And then you don't realize till 6 or 12 months later, because nobody balances their checkbook anymore, that you've been paying on something you're not using. And then you try to shut it down, and it takes forever to do that too. So
right.
Yeah, it's a real cycle of trapping you into transferring the wealth God has entrusted to you to others, sometimes unknowingly, sometimes purposefully, but you're absolutely right. It was showed so many times over the years that people who use credit cards spent substantially more than if they would just use cash. And now they're showing the same thing with the apps. Good point, Nate. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yeah. Another one of those habits that we really need to break.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's no pain in going. I mean, you place the order on the app, and then as you show up, they give you your stuff. You drive away. You don't even have to try to pay anything. They just give you things, and so there's no pain of seeing
Nate,
the money
isn't that
disappear.
so funny? 40, 50 years ago, you used to give someone cash, or even with swiping a credit card, you can still see the swipe happening. But yeah, it is so different now. I mean, goodness, my wife and I bought breakfast yesterday morning, and we used an app. We didn't even see the money go out, and so I don't see it until I check my bank account to see that. But that's definitely a difference for sure, and I think one that the younger generation needs to be on guard against. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Nate.
Thanks,
appreciate
Nate.
those comments. God bless you. I hope that you're doing some great things by mentoring those around you with the biblical principles of finance, because it changes your life. Whenever you get into understanding what God's word is on finance, certain things happen. One, it all gets easier. Even if you're in financial straits, it gets easier because God is with you as you're working out of them. If you start realizing more about your finances and you start realizing, okay, this is God's, I want to honor him. I don't want it to be wasted on things that would dishonor him. I want to use it in a way that glorifies him, including how I care for my family, how I care for the house. All these things start coming to life, and you start feeling more peace and more joy in your life. And oftentimes you see a much more incredible financial situation developing in your life as well. It's wonderful to follow God's directives on personal finance. That's called stewardship.
Mark, let me connect it back to what really matters too, which, by the way, you've been doing that as well, but that's just something that came to my mind also. You had mentioned earlier one of the most important keys to one of the most important keys to successful finances that perhaps this generation has missed is contentment. But I think ultimately it comes back to, who are we content in? Who are we satisfied in? Are you satisfied with your status? Are you satisfied with your money, the size of your retirement account, the size of your house? Or are you satisfied wholly in Christ? We have to be wholly satisfied in Christ. We have to be content in who we are in him. And when we are that, when we're satisfied in Christ, then it allows us to be truly satisfied in whatever our lot is. And I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to pursue wealth, but we're content with wherever we're at.
Well,
it's a wonderful
wherever
gift.
we're at, like Paul spoke about, whether in abundance or in poverty, you should learn to be content and realize it's just a moment. It's just a moment. God has plans for you, great plans for you to prosper.
But even Paul had to learn. He said, I had to learn to be content. So
exactly, because where you focus, exactly. We're told all through the Bible where we're supposed to focus, and unfortunately, the world, at 1,000 times more than people get the Word of God in them, is telling you to focus elsewhere, to focus on pride, focus on wealth, focus on power, focus on anything but being content. And being content doesn't mean being lazy or not striving for something better. It just means realizing that the God of all creation loves you enough to have you in the right place at the right time to bring you closer to Him. And that's an incredible thing.
My life before I met Jesus, I was most of the time afraid. I remember one of my teachers gave the classroom an invitation for Crossroads. When they talked to me about the love of God, I felt a sort of peace in my heart. I will commit myself to learn more about God's Word, to be able to share the gospel to others.
To help reach more kids like Louise with the life-changing hope of the gospel, visit reachOurSchools.com.
As a member of Samaritan Ministries, your monthly share is a gift that goes directly to a real person in need. While that share takes
Did you know that an unborn baby's heart beats at an average of 120 times every minute? That steady rhythm, that precious sound, that's the sound of life. Preborn partners with local pregnancy clinics across the nation to help mothers choose life, providing free ultrasounds, counseling, and the gospel of Jesus Christ. To give, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Hey guys, before we talk about the Fed, Mark, this comment in the chat, just an absolute delight. Daniel from Tennessee is saying, I paid with Susan B. Anthony and Sacagawea dollars the other day, and the cashier didn't know what they were or what to do with it. That's delightful. That's delightful.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah. What can you do, I suppose? Well, if you're the Fed, you can keep rates same, because that's what they did yesterday, right, Sam? They
was there ever any doubt? Right? I know everyone's thinking that Fed Chair Kevin Warsh is going to come in there and the economy is going to be revolutionized. The future is now, but that's not exactly what happened. The Fed actually unanimously voting yesterday to keep interest rates the same. Although there were some changes, Fed Chair Kevin Warsh did give a brief overview of the economy, much shorter than previous ones. Here's a little bit of that.
Economic activity is expanding at a solid pace, despite elevated uncertainty that owes in part to the conflict in the Middle East. Productivity growth and capital investment, both strong. Job gains have kept pace with the workforce, and the unemployment rate has changed little. We recognize that inflation has been running well ahead of the Fed's long-stated inflation goal of 2%. That's been going on for more than 5 years.
Some things never change, the 2% inflation goal, but that statement was actually half the length of previous ones, really cutting down. Warsh has previously criticized the Fed for chairing too much. He even removed the so-called forward guidance from the statement. Here he is explaining that.
It's a bit shorter, a bit simpler, and it dispenses with some older language. That statement just gives you the facts as best we can judge it. Absent also is so-called forward guidance, which we agreed was not well suited to the current policy conjuncture.
Yeah. Warsh at the same time announcing a new task force, basically to review everything they're doing at the Fed to see if it's useful and helpful. The review will focus on Fed communications, its balance sheet, data sources, productivity and employment, and also the bank's overall approach to mitigating inflation. So, Mark, what do you think of these changes, especially this change to forward guidance? What is it, or what has it been, I guess, and was it a good move to get rid of it?
Yeah, I think so. What I got out of it was that he believes that the Fed needs to be more clear and concise in what they say, but not overly scripted or overly projecting. Because in the past, they come out and say things like, this is where we're at. This is where the economy is going to go over the next year. This is where inflation's going to go over the next year. And this is what we're going to do because of it. And then when the economy doesn't do what they said it's going to do, which it never did, and when the inflation doesn't react the same way as they say it was, because it never does, then they change their guidance again. So every 3 months, they redo their guidance, and it causes people to move and react and do things based on irrational and guidance that was based on projections instead of facts. So I think Warsh is doing a good thing by not overly projecting anything, just pretty much being reasonable, saying this is where we're at and this is our concerns. And that's all I'm going to say from here. We have to watch it and react to it as it happens. We need to walk in the facts, not in the projections. I like it. Yeah. Instead of pretending they have an idea about what tomorrow's going to bring.
I like that overall, Warsh is very critical of projecting and forecasting in general. He didn't produce, what do you call it, the dot plot, where he says, here's what I think interest rates are going to be in the next couple quarters or years. Some other Fed members did, but he says, I'm not going to put one out because I frankly think they're stupid.
Yeah, I like that. I really did. It could mean that, at least in the short term, till people adapt to this new, more factual-based Federal Reserve, there could be a little bit more short-term volatility, because of the uncertainty. Markets are used to taking and reacting to whatever the Fed said. So, from an investor takeaway, especially for us, I think it's really important that don't make major decisions based only on Fed language. Weave that into the other decisions. If you got strong stocks with fair valuations, what the Fed says probably implies less on those than it would if you have overvalued, weak stocks. So stay disciplined, stay diversified, and aligned with your asset allocation model and your sleep factor. And if you do that, you're doing great. And keep cash where cash is needed. Bottom line, if the markets are overvalued, you start getting some dry powder to take advantage of those blue light specials that happens on the pullbacks.
Now, of course, the mainstream media, I'm seeing a lot of people saying the Fed is reducing transparency, although the more measured people are saying, no, it's a quieter Fed, which I kind of like that more.
It's a good thing.
Transparency of what? Of their crystal ball that never worked? We saw how bad the Fed was before, how poorly it have they ever done anything that really helped the economy? Some people would say, well, they saved the economy, they did this. Maybe, but they put us through 10 more years of pain by the way they did it. And the whole idea that they have to raise interest rates to slow down our growth so that we don't have inflation. Guess what? That doesn't slow down inflation. You know what slowed down inflation is by raising the interest rates so companies couldn't continue to manufacture and have productivity, so they had to lay people off, so people couldn't spend and started being hungry and striving for stuff. So that caused the economy to decline, and that curbed inflation because nobody had any money because of what they did that caused our economy to tank. I don't like that solution. You know what a solution I like is one where we help the economy continue to grow. Productivity is never bad. It's always good. It's what you do with that productivity and how you handle it. Interest rates should not be a tool to try and curb inflation. Instead, what we should do is have low interest rates all the time and let the markets determine the inflation.
Amen. That's what Patty says here in the chat. She says Warsh is going to end giving guidance to the markets. Rather, he wants the market to give him the data and not influence the markets with the Fed.
Well said, Patty.
That is well said. You know, guys, one thing that stood out to me with all this is it seems like, at least from this first speech, Kevin Warsh seems to be bringing back some self-awareness to the Fed. You know, a government entity, and this is just my opinion, and I believe that the Fed is one, whether it claims to be apolitical or not. A government entity is really at its best when it's self-aware and it puts limits on itself, because it knows that if it lets itself get too powerful, it's going to mess things up for everybody. And it seems like he's starting to bring that back a little bit, Mark, which I like a lot.
And something else that he's doing is he's taking it apart and putting it back together because it's been too many years of hiding behind these great granite walls of this $30 billion renovation that they've been doing, and nobody knowing what exactly they're doing, how they're doing it, or why. You know, talk about lack of transparency. That's a transparency. He's taking it apart and putting it back together. I love what he said about the numbers. He said, we're looking at the data and how they gather the data and where the data is coming from, to tighten that up to make sure it's better data, real data, and not just survey data. You know, so I'm very
It's a survey monkey with a Fed stamp on it, right?
There you go. Yeah. So I'm very impressed with what he's saying and what he's doing. And, you know, this administration, this Trump administration has been doing that in all areas of the government. They've been taken apart. Look at what DOJ did and so many of them, exposing so many things that have become embedded in our government that are wrong and doing things wrong. So I just love that they're doing this, and hopefully they'll be, in the next 2 years, we'll see a whole lot more of it.
Amen, guys. Markets yesterday, they started out the day great. I was keeping one eye on the markets. Don't tell my wife while we were celebrating our anniversary.
I can't imagine that.
That's right. They were looking great until...
Did she say, are you married to me or the market, Seth? You're breaking my heart.
That's right. Well, it turns out the markets broke my heart yesterday because they were up so well, and then they came down after the Fed announcement, but that's okay. But
that'll learn you.
That's exactly right, man. This morning, Mark, the markets are looking pretty good so far. Everything is in the green where it should be, at least what I'm seeing. Oil seems to be down as well.
Yeah, we have what? S&P, NASDAQ about up 0.75%, and the Dow up about 0.5%, which is pretty interesting because I figured that would still be down today because of its run. But we also have crude oil down to 73.87. Think about that. That's incredible. We're only $13 away from the strike point where everybody says that if we get down to 60, we're going to see below $2 gasoline. Whoa, wouldn't that be great?
Be awesome. Well, we're marching that way, Mark. Yeah.
Unfortunately, gold's down as well. And so we're going to see some mix going forward.
But WDC is up 10% again. So I'd encourage people to go back and listen to yesterday's episode where we took
that would be good. That's probably why it's up, you know.
We were talking about it.
You know, our goal is not to move to markets. Our goal is to move you closer to Christ.
Amen.
By helping you have a deeper relationship with the one true God through your finances, not despite them. You can do that. God's word is perfect and right, and he can affect your life in a way you never dreamed by being a steward. We want to help you to do that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for loving the Lord and investing with biblical integrity. God bless everyone. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation going under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.